Hospitality comes from the Greek word hospice, which means make space for the guest. Hospitality is the oasis from hostility. So making space for the guests, particularly the strangers in our lives. Well, we saw that happening in terms of the good work that Josh is doing and Becky is doing and the good work that Jim is doing. They make space in their lives in order to other people can remain human. How important and critical that is. And then we had the wonderful lunch. 3 different kinds of sandwiches. Kettle cooked chips, chocolate chip cookies. Good veggie sandwiches. Just remind us for just a moment. The water you had on your table, people in Ukraine will not get that much clean water today. The sandwiches that we enjoyed, the animals and the vegetables were raised by farmers who are getting ready to go out in their fields and out in their barns, not knowing what their prices are going to be. The price of corn is astronomical. The price of nitrogen for fertilizers is unbelievable. And then the price of fuel. I work with the farmers a great deal, and they're very much worried about this season coming. But everything that we eat is because of the humble service of other people. And how about the wonderful staff who made those sandwiches and packed them and then labeled them? Generally, when I was looking for a sandwich, you have to kind of pick up the bread on each one. What's there? And there it was, all labeled, organized. And then after we leave today, they'll pick it up and they'll clean it all up again. Our lives are predicated in the humble service of other people wherever we go. Let us never take them for granted. Secondly, when we look in terms of our agenda, find more connections. Well, people are we're reaching out to each other. We know each other by our first names, the ideas that we share, and each of us in our conversations revealed a bit of our character in terms of who we are. What do we expect, and how do we use the community? Well, we look at terms of the gifts and the resources, and Mariah said that very well. We need to know when to push and when to step back, when to be on a dance floor and when to observe. That's really the level of discernment, finding what's happening in our community. Police officers, build trust with the community and have the community trust us. Let's find ways in which Jim is out in the community talking about his empathy and compassion for the people that he serves in the community, even people that he might not like. He serves dignity each and every day. That's moral courage, my friend. Energy from the group. Holy smokes. Different perspectives. I think we got that. A refresher. You never get there. We're always learning. The other part of it is, I tell people I'm not new, innovative, or creative. I think that we got too much. We are too much enamored by what is new. I'm interested in what's true. And what's true is that people grow when they're served. Okay. Now, successes from each other. Look at the successes that are taking place, the things that we're all doing in our different areas. Ignite the need for community and reconnecting. After COVID, this is going to be our challenge. How do we reconnect, restore, and renew relationships? I'll get into this moment. Bring us back to center, sense of peace, new people that have come into our lives, other perspectives. And then we went on and look at what we learned. Now, 3 things I'd like to emphasize. 1, we build our lives, we build our communities, we build our workshop, our democracy in our communities by the conversations that we have, the ways in which we talk to and with each other. Confucius, 2,500 years ago, said this: the rectification of a society begins with the reclamation of language. The way in which you talk to and with each other restores relationships. That's why your work is so significant and important, because you're looking not only for a conviction, you're looking for reconciliation. Second, what really becomes important about our conversations, it means that we turn towards each other, and oftentimes turn towards each other we might not agree with. This is what real leadership is, rather than levels of aversion. Aversion is to turn away from each other. And what we did here today, even sitting at round tables, we turn towards each other. And you begin to recognize how important that is in changing our lives. Second, a lot of talk about listening. Listen has the same letters as the word silent. Listen as the same letter as the word silent. We will not become better listeners until we limit our access to these things. These were created for distraction. Who would have thought of the word dumb scrolling? Looking for things that you can't afford and you don't want. One of the greatest temptations of every leader right now is distraction. Isn't it amazing? We even have a term now for it called distracted driving. Isn't that extraordinary? To limit your access to technology. I know this sounds countercultural, but you have to be a contemplative in order to be a servant leader. That means you have to be able to be quiet, be comfortable with silence and solitude. The opposite of contemplation is reaction. Haven't we seen too much overreaction these last 2 years? And finally, a little plug for Viterbo here. We're hosting our conference back in person. It's going to be June 30th and July 1st in La Crosse. Bernie is going to be speaking at the conference. He'll be talking about his new book, Servant Leadership from the Middle, his management. This man is so incredible that he has the cover of his book tattooed on his arm. His publisher has never seen such that kind of promotion ever. Way to go, Bernie. Mariah Weddle, who's in the back, will be speaking at our conference. She spoke at Lutheran College and just as articulate, thoughtful. She is not only an emerging leader, she's there. And she'll be speaking at our conference. Michael Bush is going to talk about best places in America to work. We have a guy from Chicago named James Bowie, a photojournalist who worked for the AP and has gone around the world covering wars. What's kept us surprised in the last 44 days is those photojournalists. And he has a marvelous program called When Home Won't Let You Stay, where he spent time talking with refugees and their stories. That level of building empathetic imaginations for how other people suffer. So that it'll be our conference in La Crosse. Our last time we had it in person, we had about 300 people. I have postcards for you there. There's an early bird sign up. We also launched an online certificate in servant leadership, and within 3 weeks, 31 people signed up. And it goes what Dick has said, it's really now becoming popular. One of the things that Greenleaf worried about was servant leadership becoming popular, because once an idea becomes popular, it loses power. You have to continue to struggle with it and kind of unpack it, if you will. And then finally, service is love made visible. Service is love made visible. And during this week, the holiest weeks of the year, we're reminded that washing feet and feeding people and doing tasks that other people might think to be beneath themselves is our work to do. If service is beneath you, leadership is beyond you. So it is a privilege and a gift to be able to serve, a privilege and a gift to be able to meet and to remind ourselves of who and whose we are.